River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. Dan here with Eric. No James today. Eric, doing okay. No, it wasn't a great weekend.
It was not. It was not.
Our parlay died on Saturday because Lamar Jackson took a knee twice.
Yeah,
So
that was just trash.
That was infuriating. My personal ticket, I don't remember which game specifically killed it. I think the Panthers did, but that's because the Panthers decided not to show up. But we'll address all of the festivities over the weekend, including the official death nail into our coffin as we were formally eliminated. Since somehow we technically had less than 1% chance last week. But let us go ahead and get into it with our Week 16. Jesus Christ, we're at Week 16 already. Our Week 16 recap. 45 seconds for each of us to talk about every single one of the games. And I have the list here. We're going to start with Thursday Night Football. We had the Broncos at the Chargers. Trying to get the timer here. All right. Well, honestly, I was head over heels excited. I thought I called it right. I told you guys, yo, the Broncos got this. The Chargers. I know you told me that the home team wins most of the time, and I looked like I was right. It looked like I was right until I wasn't. And the Chargers came roaring back to pretty much secure their wild card spot. Now the Broncos are in a little bit more of a pickle than I realized after this game, because now they could very well lose their spot. I thought they had it locked in, but I don't know. Their fate is in their hands. I mean, technically the Chargers is too, but yeah, didn't think the Chargers were going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, interesting game between two teams that are pretty evenly matched. I think if you flip the field and you play this game at, I don't know, it's not Mile High Stadium anymore, but whatever the heck it's called, Broncos probably win the game. So I don't think there's a lot that separates either of these two teams. I don't think either of these two teams gets real far in the playoffs either, but certainly both are a surprise to have been as good as they are this season.
Yeah, I already made my piece. I was very surprised with this. A very thrilling ending, though.
Yeah. Oh, how about that free kick too?
Oh, I didn't see that live, but I love that soundbite that Jim gave, because I forgot that he tried to do one with us 10 years ago. I did not know. I definitely forgot that was a rule, and it was a very Jim Harbaugh thing to say that was his favorite rule. That made me laugh quite a bit. I was like, of course it is, Jim. Of course it's your favorite rule. But anyway, now we have a doubleheader on Saturday. Saturday football is wonderful. The very first game we had was the Texans at the Chiefs. Once again, the Chiefs just had to be a little bit better than their opponent to get by. They only won by 8. So technically that just falls into that ongoing record they have of winning all these one-score games. And just Houston has just become snake-bitten. I feel terrible for Houston. They lost Stephon Diggs. They now lost Tank Dell to another season-ending injury, a gruesome one on top of that. And yeah, cool, you won the South, but the Texans just look very, very flawed. They're not hitting their ceiling. And yeah, they pretty much gave the Chiefs the number 1 seed, unfortunately, for the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody expected a lot more out of this Texans team when the season started, and they just haven't really achieved, I think, what most people thought they were going to do, whether that's because of injuries, whether it's because of the chemistry, whether it's because of Stroud not really making the leap in his sophomore year. I don't know the exact reason, but they sort of underachieved. They also don't look like they're going to get very far in the playoffs, probably. Um, Chiefs for the Chiefs. They keep doing their Chiefy things and they keep winning their Chiefy games. So screw the Chiefs.
Yes, indeed. The high ankle sprain clearly meant nothing. And you know what? They're probably going to beat Pittsburgh because why not? I do have thoughts on Pittsburgh when we get to them, which is actually our next game. Speaking of them, talking about someone else that got screwed over by the schedule makers. Lost my timer. Yeah, the second Saturday game, Steelers at Ravens. I am glad that I at least called this game. I know that Lamar is terrible against the Steelers, but the Steelers just they were on top of the world less than a month ago, and now they're on a 2-game losing streak. And I mean that's just unfortunate. I'm not gonna pretend that the Ravens aren't gonna trip over their own wing when it comes to the playoffs because they always do. But yeah, just I didn't think losing Kenny Pickett was going to really screw this Steelers team as much as it has, but there's no other reason that I can think of. They're just not quite good enough on offense, despite how good they are on defense. And the Ravens just look like the Ravens basically were playing to their ceiling. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I think when Pickens comes back, he's supposed to come back for the Christmas game. I think when he comes back, I think it'll make a huge difference in the Steelers' offensive capabilities. I just don't think that they have the weapons and the capability without him. I'm a little concerned by their 2-game slump, but they've lost against 2 really good teams. So I don't know that that's immediate cause for concern, but it's somewhat disconcerting. Ravens took care of business. It was a big game for them. They needed a win. It was imperative for them. They went out, they got the win. They looked very Raven-like in doing it. I don't know. They're going to be a really hard out in the playoffs, except for the fact that, as you say, they trip over their own wang and usually destroy themselves. So
The Ravens always underperform when they're not supposed to. It
yeah.
happens every single year. I'm not making this a whole tangent, but I've seen it like the last 4 years in a row with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, just what it is. Sorry, Ravens fans, if you're listening, why? Onward now to the game that honestly pissed me off the most this weekend. The Giants at the Falcons. Like, Giants, what are you doing? You were so primed to at least cover the spread. Like, but no, not only that, you end up like almost double what the spread was. I can't do math well. 34 minus 7. Like, thanks for ruining my ticket, first off. But also, you gave Michael Penix a win when honestly he didn't even do that much. Like the Falcons defense really just feasted on the inferior quarterback that is Drew Lock. And I don't know, 2 weeks in a row now, I have nothing to say other than just the Giants are terrible, and you only have to be an average team to clearly wallop the piss out of them, which is what the Falcons did.
Yeah, I mean, I went all in on your theory that the Giants were going to cover, and so that blew a couple of my tickets. So, Indiana Dan did not come through for me on those. I mean, you asked what the Giants were doing. The Giants did what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to suck and tank for the number 1 pick. And that's where they've ended up now. So they're right in the driver's seat for that number 1 pick. So good for them.
Mission almost accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, Falcons, flying high this week. They'll be down on the road and run over by a truck next week when they suck. So, I mean, I still don't believe in them. There's no consistency there. I don't even know that they're going to make the playoffs.
They might, because of the last game we're going to talk about, which also very much infuriates me. Because honestly, like, I'll save my tirade for when we actually get to the Buccaneers, because both of those games, number 1 and 2, for what games pissed me off this weekend the most. I don't know. It's not that I hate the South. It's you disappoint me. It's that dad phrase. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. But we need to move on to the Lions at the Bears. Speaking of dads, my dad's favorite team. What else do you need to know from this game other than watch the highlight of Jared Goff faking a fumble and a stumble to hit Sam Laporta on that like 30, 40-yard bomb? Just cool. Caleb did throw 300 yards, didn't throw a pick. He's had a really good streak in this back half of the year without throwing picks. But just, I don't know. There's just a level of ineptitude that is just radiating through this roster that like is trying to get back. They're trying to get into the top 5 pick. It seems like everyone's really just given up, like in that locker room, like as much as they do or don't like this guy. Like it seems like everybody's just ready for spring.
Yeah, they are certainly not playing inspired football on the Chicago Bears sideline. That's definitely true. I mean, I don't know if it's really that coach's fault or if the players and the leadership in that locker room just don't give a crap what it is, but they are looking absolutely dreadful and really basically just stumbled into 17 points on accident. Meanwhile, the Lions are just pulling out every trick in the book and just absolutely toying with people on a weekly basis, which I kind of enjoy, to be honest. I think it's rather funny that they're just, doing whatever it is they want to do in games, and good for them. Bad for us because we're going to get our teeth absolutely kicked in next week by them. Ooh, I'm going to look at the spread for that game right now.
I guarantee you it's at least 10.
You think it's at least 10?
I think it's at least 10. They're even with a defense riddled with 3rd, 4th, and 5th stringers. Like they're not playing like it. I bet it's at least a 10-point spread.
I'm gonna say Vegas has it at 7.
Well, if you pull that up,
I think it should be 14 personally, but
it should be a slaughter. It should.
We shall see.
Well, if you get that pulled up, I have the next game here. Well, actually,
what?
What is it?
3.5.
What? No, what?
3.5.
Did they not watch how?
Bet that all day long. All day. Can I alt that spread yet? Nope. Oh, wait, maybe. Nope.
Did they not watch how bad we played against Miami?
Oh, my gosh. Hold on. I'm betting right now.
Did they not see how bad our offensive line was against Miami and we lost 2 people?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that's terrible.
Well, I just bet Lions cover 3.5.
As they should. That's ridiculous.
I'm gonna get that bet in before that line moves.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But onward.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Our next game is not that exciting.
Ridiculous.
Our next couple of games are not that exciting.
Oh, come on now. Of course they are.
The next game is the Browns at the Bengals. Well, the DTR experiment was definitely not as fun as the Jameis Winston experience. And the only thing of note we got out of this game was Joe Burrow throwing that touchdown almost like on his stomach. But honestly, really, like, the Bengals took care of business. The Browns are bad enough that we actually didn't have to worry about the Bengals giving up 30 points this time. And their playoff hopes are alive. I felt so bad for them, but there's still technically a chance, and I'm low-key cheering that they can sneak in as that wild card, even though they'll get knocked out wild card weekend, because again, that defense is awful against a good team.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the Browns didn't do anything to test the Bengals defense this weekend, because as you said, the Bengals defense is not very good. Bengals offense, on the other hand, is very good. Burrow, if the Bengals had 4 or 5 more wins would be the runaway MVP candidate this season, without question. He's having a phenomenal season. Chase is offensive player of the year if he is on a better team with a better record. He's having a phenomenal season as well. So just lots of individually good things happening for the Bengals this season. I don't think it's going to translate into a collective playoff appearance, though.
It's possible if they win out, including beating the Broncos, who also need to lose out, and the Dolphins and the Colts win or lose one of their next 2 games. They don't have to lose, but they don't have to lose out. But as long as they lose one of their next 2 games each, and then the Broncos lose to the Chiefs and the Bengals, and then the Bengals, I forget who their other opponent is, but it's Broncos and then someone else.
Yeah, the problem is going to be is that Chiefs game is not going to matter. So the Chiefs aren't going to play anybody.
They probably won't. Like, honestly, like they probably won't. It's almost clinched. It's amazing it's not clinched yet for them to have the number 1 seed. But
yeah,
I'm gonna quietly cheer to see the Bengals because I would love to see them, after how awful their season has been up to this point, to still manage to get into the playoffs. Like, otherwise, like I would feel so bad that this was a waste of a great season from Hendrickson on defense, Burrow and Chase. Because I agree, Burrow, any other year, he would be the front runner for MVP over Josh Allen.
Oh yeah, easily.
Onward to the my hometown Colts hosting the Tennessee Titans. Well, the one thing to take away from this game is look at the run to pass ratio for the Colts. It was literally, I think, 42-11. Anthony Richardson was only asked to throw 11 passes and still managed to throw 1 pick. That is Anthony, if I've ever heard an Anthony stat line in my life. And this was also a Colts game, if I've ever seen one, where they managed to get out to a 30-point lead and still almost blow it. Like, I saw what the score was at halftime, and then I saw the final score, and I just couldn't believe that they let the Titans get within 8 of them, 30-38.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about Anthony Richardson, stat line. I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, he threw 11 passes. He only completed 7. But, of course, those 7 were for 11.9 average yards per pass. So, everything he threw was, 12 yards down the field. Threw a touchdown, threw a pick, no surprise there. These
Jonathan Taylor had himself a hell of a game, though.
He did. I mean, he's really, really good, and I don't understand why they don't use him more typically. These 2 teams are both just going nowhere because neither of them has a quarterback. So until either of these teams can figure out what they're doing at the quarterback position, they're both going to be trash.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at least the Colts have Jonathan Taylor, not to completely ignore him in my first 45 seconds, but no, the Colts only are going as far as Anthony is, and Anthony is not going very far.
No.
And then we agree Tennessee just needs to blow up.
Yeah.
Speaking of terrible quarterbacks, our next game is the Rams at the Jets. As you noted last week, Aaron Rodgers infuriatingly decided to remember how to play football well, at least in the box score. His box score stats for the last 2 or 3 games haven't looked terrible, but at least I predicted this game right, that the Rams were overall better. It wasn't a real barn burner of a final score, 19-9, but hey, a win's a win. The Rams were the superior team. I would have been shocked if somehow the Jets pulled an upset on this. And, if nothing else this weekend, I could take at least a little bit of joy that the Jets jet is still crashing somewhat with 2 weeks left to go.
Yeah, I mean, Rodgers' stat line looks decent again in this particular game. I mean, 256 yards, touchdown. He's not terrible. So, I mean, he's making the case again over these last few weeks of the season that he's not washed up, even though he looked like trash earlier this season. Unfortunately, the Rams won. The Rams winning sealed the deal for the Niners, put the nail in the coffin. That took care of them and eliminated them for the season from making the playoffs.
Them and Washington.
Yeah, I mean, is what it is. I mean, they weren't going anywhere anyway, so I mean that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, congrats Rams for basically if you beat Seattle next week, you win the division, if I remember correctly.
Should be, yeah.
I believe they play if they don't play the Seahawks next week. I know they play the Seahawks next week or in the final week. But yeah, the Rams preemptive congratulations. Spoiler alert, the Seahawks lost. So congrats on basically winning the West already. Onward to, speaking of the Commanders, we don't have Mr. Jimmy B for his 2 cents on this, but it's okay. It is the Eagles and the Commanders. I would love Jimmy's deep dive analysis into this game, like beyond what I just half snarkingly will say is Kenny Pickett is why this game ended up being how it was. No offense to Commander Daniels. Commander Daniels, from the highlights I saw, looks like phenomenal rookie of the year material. He, especially on that last drive, like this dude has some serious fourth quarter traits that are more than worth what it took to get him second overall. He looked fantastic. I do hope that Hurts his concussion doesn't last too long, because I would hate to see the Eagles bow out strictly because of Pickett. That would be kind of crappy. But no, congratulations, Commanders, on a 10-win season. That honestly is a great accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Quinn should get a lot of consideration for Coach of the Year. I mean, the Commanders have really turned it around from where they were. I mean, they were a franchise that was a laughingstock for, how many years, like 20 years in a row. And now this year they've really played and exceeded basically everybody's expectations. Daniels looks like the truth at quarterback. I mean, he looks really, really good. I think he's
he looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a very large portion of this game, and he looked good throughout. He looks better than Stroud did last year, probably. And I don't know if I'm in the NFC. Washington's defense isn't great, but man, they can put up points. I don't know that they're not going to be an easy out. I don't think in the playoffs. I don't know that I'd want to play them.
It's funny, that offense is really young, but that defense is so old.
Yeah,
like I don't know. It could be a trap game. It could be a trap game. I would love to see it be a trap game, and they managed to get to the divisional round. But yeah, no, I'm not worried about the Eagles. As long as Jalen Hurts' concussion's not too bad. But I don't know. Play this game with Hurts all the way through, we'd be talking about a Eagles 11-game winning streak. I'm certain of that. No offense to Daniels, of course. Onward to. Sorry for the shrug there, Panthers and Cardinals fans. I'm taking a little bit of joy seeing all this potential for the Cardinals just going nowhere. Like, I don't know if this is a coaching problem, strictly, or if it's, well, no, I talked myself into it's coaching. Like, they need to have some culture change so that they can actually maximize all this talent if they want to actually make some noise in a very winnable NFC West, but they didn't. And the Panthers, on the other hand, got their culture fixed a little too late, but Dave Canales seems like he's got his team fighting, even though they got nothing to fight for. And once again, Bryce Young gets him a big win in overtime. So I don't know. The Panthers are still fighting and the Cardinals aren't, and it's sad and it makes me laugh.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Young's going to force the Panthers to make a real decision this offseason on him. I mean, they left him for dead. He's come back and really made them a competitive team here the last, 8 weeks of the season. I mean, they've played pretty good football since they put him back in as the starter. So, I mean, I don't know that he's the answer to all their problems, but he certainly doesn't seem to be the problem anymore. So, Cardinals kind of remind me of the other bird team from the AFC, the Ravens, right? They're just the model of inconsistency. They come out and they can pummel somebody one week, and then the next week they suck. So, I mean, or the Falcons. These bird teams, none of these bird teams are reliable.
No, it makes me not sad, because I'm not going to cheer for another divisional team success. But when you look at them on paper, like we talked last week, why is this team only 7 wins? Why is this team 1 game away from a losing season? Like, especially with where they started in the first half of the season, and now it's just maybe they'll win, maybe they won't. It really is erratic what's going on with them, and the owner needs to ask the coach some serious questions about like, yo, when is this ship going to be like straightened out next year? Got you Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride that looks amazing. Kyler Murray has a very high ceiling. What the hell, dude? Like,
Yeah.
But onward, speaking of the NFC West, the team that choked away their stranglehold on it for the Rams, the Vikings went all the way to the upper Northwest in Seattle. I'll give the Seahawks some credit. They gave the Vikings a good run, and as we've said, the Vikings have little itty bitty shades of faking it, but you don't get the 13 wins on pure luck, except for the Vikings in 22. But this is not that Vikings team of 22. There's some grit with this team. Even if Sam Darnold is liable to throw a brain fart pick here and there, or if the defense gets a little too overzealous and they give up big plays trying to make the sack, like these Vikings got to 13 wins, and the Seahawks let it happen because Geno Smith has been asked to do so much for that team, and he is not that quarterback you want to have play gunslinger superhero. So 13 wins is congrats, Kevin O'Connell. Most wins by a Vikings head coach in a season.
Yeah, I don't know. I still just don't believe in this.
Maybe it was 2 13-win seasons he did. He did some coaching record with the Vikings, so congrats on whatever that record was.
Yeah. I don't know. I still just don't believe in this Vikings team for some reason, and I don't know why that it is. And I think maybe it's just because they play so many close games and they play sort of down to their opponent like every week, and like I don't know. I can't get behind them for some reason when I look at Philly and when I look at Detroit and I compare them, and like it just like I don't know. They just don't strike me as the team that's going to get there and get all the way. So, but they've had a fantastic season. They certainly have a tough defense. Darnold seems to be doing his thing. Jefferson is great. They're not going to be an easy out, but I just don't think they can get all the way there.
Well, so far they have been riding that line of bend, don't break.
Yeah.
Like, if nothing else, they are very much a bend, don't break team. And I think I might have frozen. Oh no, we're back. I thought I froze for a second.
No.
But I don't have my game list. There it is. Don't know what that little refresh was. But anyway, we're back. And the Patriots visited the Bills for the next game. And, oh, come on. Come on, timer. I can't click on my timer. What is happening? We will talk for the next hour about the Bills if I don't have this. And there we go. The Patriots at the Bills. Talk about the real trap game of the week. Who'd have thought this coming? Like, I didn't. It was at least a 10, if not a 14-point spread. And the Patriots, riding Booty with his great touchdown. I just wanted to say Booty. No, the Bills must not have taken them seriously because, yeah, it's a divisional game. And no, the Bills have some chink in their armor. And I mean, they didn't break, kind of like what we were saying about the Bills, the Vikings. They bend, but they didn't break. But I don't know. It gives me a little pause when I see them struggle in a game like this, and then when they lost to the Rams.
Yeah, the Bills seem to also sort of play to the level of their competition. So, I mean, that's probably the only other concern that I have is that, I like teams that, when you're good and you're the better team and you're supposed to beat the other team, you come out and you just kick their ass, right? Like that's what you're supposed to do. Like when we look back at like the 49ers teams of like the last couple of years, when they were the superior team, they just came out and they just beat the other team down into the ground, right? This Bills team, they come out and they win a bunch of different ways, but they sort of play to the level of their competition, and that can get you caught up in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, I'm getting a little laggy on my end for some reason.
That's all right.
That's what I'm not trying to throw the whole mojo off of that. I'm gonna just have the list up here on my phone because that's driving me a little nuts. But I did see that our next game, we only have 2 left to talk about, fortunately. The next one is Jacksonville at the Raiders. And I don't even know if I need my timer for this because honestly, someone leave a comment if you actually watch this game. Like, this is the least analytical take I'll have on this game. Both of these coaches are going to get fired. Like, I can listen to the argument about Antonio Pierce getting 1 more year, but when you're the 2nd overall pick now, after you got hired literally because you were going to have a mutiny in the locker room and then you delivered 2 wins, I would not be shocked if Antonio got fired and Devontae Adams left. So I don't know. The Raiders, wasn't it just like 3 years ago the Raiders were actually competitive? Same with Jacksonville. I could say all the same things for Jacksonville, but Jacksonville more so has the pieces there to merit saying they have a high ceiling, and just Doug Peterson is not the guy to get them there.
Yeah, I mean, my only real takeaway on this game is that the Raiders screwed up. I mean, they had a shot and a beeline at the number 1 draft pick, and they went ahead and screwed up and won this game. So, I mean, they did exactly what you're not supposed to do towards the end of the season when you're a team that sucks and has a losing record and a bad record like they do. You're not supposed to win. You're supposed to be competitive. You're supposed to play the game, but ultimately you're supposed to lose. And, they kind of screwed their own pooch there. Both these teams just, I mean, the Raiders are probably worse off because they don't have a quarterback. And if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything. The Jaguars at least supposedly have a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. They just haven't been able to put it all together. But when they get a new coach in, hopefully it's better off for them.
It's interesting. I wasn't exactly opposed to signing Trevor because it was kind of a Jay Cutler situation. Like, what's better? Like, is it worth taking the gamble when you know this guy at least has a decent ceiling? And I mean, with the Raiders, like, they're at the same point as Tennessee where they just need a complete teardown. Like,
Yeah.
you lost Devontae Adams, all your quarterbacks are getting hurt, so you're starting Desmond Ridder. Like, it's time to just Control Alt Delete, unplug and replug it back in, just see what happens in Vegas next year.
Yeah.
It's the lost cause to get anything from them. All right. Back. Sorry about that, folks. We have 1 game left, and that is the Sunday night football game. The Buccaneers went to Jerry World in Dallas. Oh, this was the 2nd game that pissed me off the most because of my little man crush on Baker. And I'm all for teams playing for pride and whatnot and not just going quietly off into that good night. But damn it, Dallas, why'd it have to be this week? Like, why did the defense have to make 2 remarkable turnovers? Just stupid, insane turnovers, just ripping it out of the Buccaneers and taking away the division from them. Because, like, really, now they have to win out and pray that the Falcons lose 1 more game. And I don't know. No, neither team is getting out of the wild card round, but I don't know. The Bucs look like the better team to me. That's what, not just because of Baker, but like Baker is a better quarterback than both of them. But I'll tie right over. I would rather see the Bucs in the playoffs. That's why I'm getting at.
Well, I mean, hope still springs eternal for you. The Falcons play the Commanders and the Panthers remaining on their schedule. So, I mean, I doubt they beat the Commanders, and who really knows with the Panthers. And then the Buccaneers have the Panthers and the Saints left on their schedule. They should beat both of those teams. So
where's the Saints game at?
At home.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I was going to say in the Superdome, that's 50-50.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Buccaneers don't necessarily control their own destiny, but, I mean, they have a legitimate shot still. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that they're going to be eliminated. I mean, sucks that they lost. Game that they probably could have, should have won, but, kind of the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can go over your time a little bit. I derailed you there for a second. But...
Oh no, that's all right. I mean, Cowboys suck. I mean, they're dumb. They should have just lost and improved their draft position. Instead, they won and screwed up. But yeah, good for them.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It makes me laugh at least that Jerry's gonna cling on to this as like, see, I know what I'm doing, and Mike McCarthy's a great coach, and
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they bring Mike McCarthy back. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, no kidding. For the rest of us, that would be.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing significant out of this game for me was that CeeDee Lamb apparently got his shoulder hurt. I hope he's not really hurt because he's really good and he's fun to watch.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. What I'm trying to do is pull up the box score from our game, but my computer does not want to cooperate, so hopefully I'm not too laggy on your side. But what I can go ahead and say, though, listeners, as I said at the top of the show, all right, and we're back. Sorry for that little hiccup there that you all didn't experience, but I definitely did. And so much that I'm terrified to pull up the box score. So,
oh, you want me to do it?
If you,
I can at least tell you the nerdy numbers. We can't show them, but
yeah, all right, no, I can pull them up. I'll pull them up on my phone.
All right, risk it.
You still, you still be ready for other nerdy number things. But yeah, no, like I was saying, we did lose to the Dolphins 29-17, and we have now cemented a permanent losing record for the year of 2024. The nerdy number stuff, apologize I can't show you them, but Purdy, at least at a box score, had a pretty good one. He had to throw 40 times, so that's not good, but he turned it into 26 completions for 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the one very inopportune pick, along with his 3 sacks. Tried to see Mike to run away from all of them. Running game, I mean, total-wise, it doesn't look bad, but when you see it was Purdy for 26, our leading rusher, Deebo Samuel 25, and Patrick Taylor for 24, not too good. Not too good at all. And then receiving-wise, we had 2 receivers over 90 and 1 receiver over 50, but again, a lot of flashy plays that ultimately went for naught, as Deebo Samuel was the only one to score a touchdown. A hard-fought touchdown. I will give him that. Deebo Samuel definitely wanted to shut up the haters this week. He turned 9 targets into 7 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. And, I mean, he turned 5 carries into 25 yards, so 5 a pop. Not horrible. I mean, really, it's not even bad. But on the other side, Tua Tagovailoa had a better quarterback rating. He had only 215 yards and 1 touchdown. But David Achane and Raheem Mostert, I thought Raheem Mostert had more yards than 8 for 31. But Achane, 17 for 120 and a tutty. And then David Achane was also their leading receiver with 6 catches for 70 yards. Jonnu Smith, 6 for 62. He's been having a Pro Bowl-worthy season, too, low-key. But Tyreek Hill had the 1 touchdown, 3 for 29 and 1. So Tyreek Hill definitely not getting that Offensive Player of the Year again. With numbers like that, he'll be lucky to cross 1,000 yards. But all that said, just taking the day to kind of process and think about what went wrong yesterday. I'll say that I was right. Not to be too braggadocious on it, but I called a game that was going to be kind of boring, kind of sloppy, and there were more flash plays. I mean, I'll admit there were a couple nice flashy moments, especially from Achane. Achane just ran the hell over us. But then Kittle and Debo did have some nice moments there, but it was all undermined by a defense that couldn't stop Achane, and I think it was 11 penalties we had, 2 of them for Pearsall lining up wrong. And then there was 2 others that were pre-snap penalties, a lot of post-snap, like they're obviously pre or post-snap, but a lot of penalties that kind of shortchanged us. And then Moody missed a kick that Kyle was actually pretty PO'd about, which was kind of interesting because he never got that mad at Moody before. But I don't know. I feel like it's a waste of breath to tell people to calm down, because if you're bad about Purdy, I think you're wrong. I think Purdy's still worth all the money we're going to give him, because I defy any quarterback to go in there and succeed when our offensive line is as absolutely destroyed as it was. Like, we started with Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks, and we lost both Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore. So we had to bring Spencer Burford, who I didn't realize dropped that far down the depth chart, he was out at left tackle, and he hasn't played left tackle in 4 years since college. And then Nick Zakelj, who was a healthy scratch for pretty much his entire career until the last month when we needed his body. He was in at left guard. So we already have an average. I mean, Pooney's not average. He may make the Pro Bowl, but McKivitz could be worse. He's better than he was last year, but he's still very mid. So our right side is mid. Brendel, our center, has not been having as good a year as he was years prior. And our left side is completely makeshift. So I defy any quarterback to play with that overall bad offensive line. That's why we couldn't run. That's why Purdy was just a bunch of splash plays and just struggled all over. He threw his interception because Calais Campbell hit him while he was trying to thread the needle in a very specific spot that just didn't get there. And just, I don't know. We've seen a lot of shortcomings this season, and this one just, they fought hard, but you know, you can only do so much when you have your ankles tied together and your other hand tied behind your back. Like, that's just what the injuries and the penalties were doing to us. And that's, I mean, I don't know. That's my take from this game. What did you think watching this?
Well, let me start with some positives, because usually I'm not very positive. So, you know,
I tried to make my assessment as positive as possible. It's just, I'm so defeated at this point.
I think Purdy played well overall. You know, 313, 2 touchdowns, the 1 pick, not really technically his fault. I mean, he got crushed by Calais Campbell when he threw that ball. That's going to happen. So, I mean, I think Purdy played well. And to your point, you know, I think he's still worthy of a contract. The idea that we would just cut him loose or not pay him is insane. I still don't think that we should pay him $60 million. I mean, I know I argued with Jimmy about that on a podcast 1 or 2 episodes ago. I think he deserves to be in that $50 to $55 million tier. I would not pay him top market money.
We agree, though, bigger picture, we agree that he is not the problem and he needs to stay.
I don't think he's the problem. I think he works very well within the confines and the parameters of this offense. I think we've seen over the past 2 seasons, when everybody's out there and everybody's healthy, that he runs the offense well and that he plays well. And I think that we've seen that he can even you know, still function within the offense when it's not at 100%. I think there's just too many pieces missing this season for him to overcome that. I think he's good, not great, right? So like, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not old Aaron Rodgers. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Peyton Manning. He's not a great quarterback. Is he Matt Ryan good? Yeah, he might be Matt Ryan good. You know, I mean, he's really good. And so I think he can lift the team and do good things with the team. I think he's just, to your point, there's so many other injuries around him that I don't think he can manage all of that. Kittle,
there's a point where a quarterback just, there's some quarterbacks that are Superman, but because Purdy's not Superman doesn't mean he doesn't deserve respect or to be in the conversation to get paid what a quarterback is worth, because his brain is absolutely an A+. I will fight that to the death. He has a quarterback brain. He's not making boneheaded decisions. He is making the most of what some call his limitations. Like, even we've said, he has a tad bit of inaccuracy here and there. Throwing balls late is probably the worst, most consistently bad thing that he does, is he throws balls late. But no, I would take him over half the quarterbacks that are out there. The way that CJ Stroud looks right now, I take him over that. Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams. He's still a top 10 quarterback. Like,
yeah. I mean,
just because he's not Superman. Like, no, Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Like, no, not there yet. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean you're a bad quarterback just because you're not freaking Tom Brady.
Right. And I mean, I would argue, I'm not going to pull up the list right here, but I mean, I would argue that a number of those quarterbacks on that list that are getting paid, they're not necessarily better than him anyways either. I mean, like, I'll just pick on Trevor Lawrence as an example, right? I mean, I would take Purdy over Trevor Lawrence any day of the week, and Trevor Lawrence is getting $55 million a year. Right. I'd take Purdy over Kirk Cousins. I'd take Purdy over Kyler Murray. I'd take Purdy over, I'm trying to think who else is on that list, but you know, there's a number of guys on that list that I would take Purdy over, and those guys are all making $50-55 million a year. So
yeah, but no, not to make that a whole. I hate
yeah.
people. I hate people saying that anybody that thinks this game is Purdy's fault. That's what I mean. I defy you to put most of these quarterbacks behind our awful offensive line. No number one receiver or number two receiver that has a bigger chip on his shoulder and not proving it. Like, yeah, you have an all-pro tight end and a guy that should be getting at least 20 or 25 million a year, but not. Like,
Yeah.
and our defense is hurt to hell too. So,
Yeah.
like, no, this is a good quarterback in a bad situation. That's all it is.
Yep. Kudos to Debo. Debo showed up this week. This is the Debo that we've been looking for and waiting for all season long. I don't know why it took until week 16 for Debo to show up, but Debo showed up this week. I think I had told you guys maybe off in the chat that this is what I expected. I said that they were going to feed him the ball pretty liberally this week, and they did, and I wasn't surprised by that.
You had more faith than I did.
Yeah. And I mean, he came up and delivered. So I mean, good for him. Hopefully, that carries on into next season if he comes back. Kittle continued to be a rock star and was great out there again. The defense was fine. I mean, our corners basically shut down, their receivers. I mean, as you mentioned, Hill didn't really do anything. He had the one touchdown. But otherwise, they didn't really do anything from a receiving perspective. So
Demo and Bernardo Green had fantastic pass breakups on deep throws to Hill. That I thank you for mentioning that, because I love me some Demo. I'm glad we paid him. And Bernardo Green looks like a steal for a second round pick. Yeah, it's a stretch to call him a steal, but Bernardo Green and Demo look awesome. So at least we have them if Ward walks.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, there were some good things to take away from this game. I mean, the bad thing to take away from this game is, we continued to let the Dolphins just sort of march up and down the field. And while we didn't necessarily, let them score touchdowns, we let them score field goals. And they basically just field goaled us to death and, built their lead up and scored that way and beat us in that fashion. Whereas we weren't able to get up the field and translate our drives into points because we were killing ourselves with penalties. We had 11 penalties for 90 yards. Most of those were either pre-snap penalties or we had plenty of, I'll say, post-play penalties where we got hit with personal foul penalty for 15 yards where we either extended drives or hurt ourselves. So we just had a lot of self-inflicted wounds, a lot of poor discipline in this particular game, and it came back and it bit us. And I mean, so with the margin of error, and I think I think Brady mentioned that, or I'm sorry, was it Brady or Romo on this broadcast? Whichever.
We had Romo on this one.
Romo, okay.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, I think Romo mentioned it on this broadcast a lot of times. The margin of error for this team is very small because of the way that they're impacted by all of these injuries and what's happening right now. And so, they can't afford to have all these silly, goofy penalties that they have and make these mistakes that they did. And it proves out in the long run. So, the season's over. I mean, it's really been done for a few weeks, like you alluded to. But the season's over, the season's done. I don't know if you saw my text while you were scrambling to fix things, but Trent's been shut down for the rest of the season. So
it's amazing he wasn't shut down last week when our percentage was 0.1. Like, really, why not shut him down then? The ankle injury clearly was bad because he's been out for the last already month and change. So I don't know why we didn't shut him down then. Maybe it's a financial, I don't know, something with being inactive versus IR for money. I don't know. But no, that was not remotely surprising while I was scrambling to fix the computer.
Yeah, so I mean, he's been shut down for the season. It's just, I don't know. I mean, they might as well just shut everybody down at this point, as far as I'm concerned. But we'll see.
Well, we're already on our fifth string running back.
Yeah.
If you count Debo in that, you're already on our fifth string running back. And at the left side of our offensive line is a third stringer and a fourth stringer, basically. Like, we're basically using a guy that we healthy scratched every week And like, oh yeah, you actually have to play now.
Yeah.
And then I mean, the wide receiver situation. Like, I mean, it could be worse, but Ricky just doesn't have the experience, and he missed all of training camp because he got shot. And then I don't know, maybe we'll get good Debo again next week against the Lions. I'm not holding my breath on that just because of the way we've been going. But
I don't want Debo to play. I don't want Kittle to play. I don't want Purdy to play. Just shut them all down. Be done. I mean, there's no point. The season's over. The last thing that I want to have happen is I want Debo or Kittle to have some sort of crazy knee injury happen to them here in the last 2 weeks of the season. Just stop and just get everybody healthy for next season.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see them doing that. I wish they would. Because I completely agree with you. Save the assets that we have, save our all-pro tight end, save the quarterback that we're intending on paying at least 55, if not more, $1 million. But no, next week is absolutely going to be a wash. We're going to get smoked by the Lions, like as hard as we want to play. And then the game against the Cardinals doesn't matter anymore because we're both eliminated. So it might as well be, I don't even know who Kyler's backup is, but it might as well be him versus the Pastronaut or Brandon Allen. Like it really might as well be at this rate.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. It's unfortunate. There's really just not that much more to say. You did highlight the good things that came out of the defense, and I don't know. I have a little bit of a man crush on secondaries. I like watching good corner play, but
Yeah.
I know it was just, I don't know. It was 2 6-8 teams going against each other. There's a little bit of life in there, but overall, like you're 6-8 for a reason. And yeah, it's time to think about the future. Like start going ahead and getting a head start on free agency. And we're probably going to be 12th in the draft. Like we're going to be top half for sure. Like, or maybe 14th, maybe somewhere in the middle. But I don't know. Just a disappointing season. And did you know, before I'm going to pull up the sponsor here, but did you know that this continues a long-standing streak of 22 years where since 2003, we have either made at least the NFC Championship or no playoffs?
That's crazy.
Like literally, I saw it on a show that I'm not going to give a free plug to, but for real, that's apparently an actual streak we have. Oop. I'm trying to, in the midst of all my computer going to hell and back, why would any of my stuff be in the right spot? Here we go. Now I got it. We need to give a shout out to the one sponsor that won't let us down, unlike my computer. Royal Retros. What is Royal Retros? It is your go-to place to get yourself an authentic throwback jersey, whether you're a basketball fan, a baseball fan, or a fan of any other of the major sports. Royal Retro has you covered. And when you find something that you like in our candlestick collection, curated with the Bay Area in mind, you get 10% off your order if you use the promo code Shady Sports. Again, it's promo code Shady Sports, and that'll get you 10% off of your entire order at royalretros.com. Go get yourself an authentic throwback jersey today. And while Eric is away for a second, I will go ahead and let you know about our charity, the shirts are raising for charity, I should say. It was inspired by Dan Snyder 2 years ago, of course, when he was the worst owner in the league. And now I'm not going to say who the worst owner in the league is now. Kind of doesn't matter. But it inspired us to create this hashtag below, owner standards over player standards, hashtag owner accountability, because we see time and time again that a player will get in trouble and the whole world will know about it the day of, and the owners can kind of just get away with whatever they want to a certain extent. But in the spirit of that, we have decided to create these t-shirts. They are on bonfire.com. The link to our Niner Nut specific stores in the show notes. And we are selling, again, these shirts. The first one is our logo. Or our hashtag, I should say, the owner standards over player standards, hashtag owner accountability. This has a great deal of different variety of colors, and all the t-shirts can be t-shirts or a premium long sleeve, a pullover hoodie, or a crew neck t-shirt, all kinds of sizes. They're all made to order, and all the proceeds from these shirts will be going to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center. It's a crisis center in Kentucky for women in abusive relationships. And we want to donate all of our proceeds to them because we were inspired to pick them based on the Texans minority owner that committed some pretty heinous crimes in Kentucky. So tying into #owner accountability, this is the standard logo shirt. The next one, if you want to rock our show, this is our cover art. We have it on this beautiful, nice t-shirt. So you can rock that while you're listening to us on any of the wonderful podcasting platforms, whether it's Spotify or Apple Music, what have you, or here on YouTube. Again, the pricing starting at $22.99 for all these shirts, various sizes. They're all made to order. The next one is right here. There we go. The alternate logo is what we call this with the goalposts. James has this shirt in red. It looks beautiful in red. If you want it in blue for some reason, it's there in blue as well. But again, the pricing starting at $22.99 and all the sizes. It is made to order. And then our last shirt is our mascot, a 49ers nut eating a bowl of peanuts. Don't ask me if that is cannibalism or not, but he is sitting on his beanbag chair, still smiling, still happy. He still has 2 more games of the 49ers to watch, including next week. Our next game is going to be against the Lions. It is not posted up here yet who is going to be the broadcaster for it, but to confirm what time it is, surely it is on Fox, at least. Listeners, if you are not on YouTube, you should watch me get my phone out to confirm this. And yes, oh no, just kidding. It's Monday Night Football. It was not flexed out for some reason. So, next Monday, New Year's Eve, December 30th, we will be on ESPN with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman getting spanked by the Lions on prime time. Eric, I was just letting the people know that about the t-shirts first, but I was letting them know that it doesn't matter what 305 says because we are on Monday Night Football still. We did not get flexed out, so we will have Troy and Joe watching us get destroyed by the Lions, who somehow are only 3-point favorites. Can't hear you.
Sorry, someone was coming over to look at my leaky kitchen faucet, and they got here early. So, I don't know why we're 3.5-point underdogs. That's crazy.
That's insane. Unless they think the Lions are going to sit everybody. And why we weren't flexed out 2 weeks ago also astounds me. I don't know if it's as easy to flex a Monday as it was Thursday, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not as easy to flex a Monday Night Football game. I mean, they're going to want the Lions on Monday Night Football because the Lions are going to be a good draw. And, I mean, the 49ers still do draw eyeballs and ratings, I guess. So, I mean, I can see why they might not flex it out. I haven't looked at the schedule to see, like, what you would flex into. You have to consider that, right? So, I mean, like, if you're flexing something out, you have to flex something in. So, like, what would be a better game to flex in, I guess?
Both Giants.
So, I mean...
those are the Netflix games. Those are too good to move out of there.
So, I mean, you've got New York, Buffalo. No one wants to watch that. Raiders,
Packers, Vikings.
Saints.
Packers, Vikings already got moved to 4:30 on Fox, so that's the Tom Brady game.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing left to flex in, to be honest, because Dallas and Philly is the only other game that's
and that's already at 4:30.
Anyway, decent.
And Falcons Commanders is all the good games are already in prime time. Damn it.
Yeah. So I mean, so everybody just gets to watch us get waxed on TV, and then all my friends get to call me up and say, "Ooh, what's wrong with your team? They look terrible." And I go, "Yeah, we look like shit. You're right." So
yeah, it's going to be just as bad as Buffalo minus the snow, I bet.
Yeah, but if you got your opportunities, we talk a little bit about gambling on the show, and I'll be the first to admit that we're not necessarily great at it, but gambling tip of the week is pound that 3.5-point line as much as you can right now, because that line is going to move. There is no way, shape, or form that line stays at 3.5, and there is no way that the Lions don't cover a 3.5-point spread. That Lions team is coming out for blood. That Lions team is coming out for retribution. That Lions team is coming out to kick our ass for what we did to them in the playoffs last season. They want revenge. They don't care that we're depleted. They don't care that we're ravaged by injuries. They don't care about any of that. They are coming to give us a thumping, and they are going to do it. That line is way too low.
100,000%. I think that's
going to be it's going to be a 14-point game.
Yeah.
Easy.
Oh,
easy.
More.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet that up as high as I absolutely can.
Yeah, I may too, as much as it pains me. But I think between that and the Trent Williams news, just Trent Williams getting shut down. Deontay Johnson is going to be playing on Christmas against his old team. If anybody cares about that, I found that very funny while I was out today. The irony of that, but honestly, if you guys were listening to us because this dropped on Christmas Eve, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Our goal is to be here on Friday, unless my computer decides to completely crap itself after Christmas. So we'll keep you posted on that. But and we should have Mr. Jimmy B back then as well. But
hang on, don't go anywhere yet. Aaron Banks also out. Jalen Moore also out for the last 2 games.
Aaron Banks might have tore his MCL.
Greenlaw, not sure on Greenlaw yet.
He's gonna play. He needs game shape.
He's going for more imaging and more medical stuff. Shanahan says most likely Greenlaw is going to be shut down. Burford, unsure. Blah, blah, blah. Garendo may be back.
So that'll be good.
Just wanted to run through those really fast.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Just, I don't know. Like I said earlier, I'm all for playing for pride. I'm all for playing for not just tanking. If you're tank. Or if you're tanking, just don't make it look like tanking if you can.
I just don't want the remainder of our star guys that are out there to get hurt. That's my biggest concern. So it's not really about tanking to me. I mean, it sort of is, it sort of isn't. I mean, right now,
safety.
Yeah, I mean, right now we got 6 wins. So I mean, we're still going to be picking in the middle spots, like around 12 or something like that as it is. So I mean, we're not going to drop that far even if we lose the last 2 games. So it's not really about tanking per se. To me, it's about the safety of the guys, right? So I don't want, I saw Campbell just crush Purdy right in this game, right? I don't want Purdy to get hurt and have some sort of injury that takes him out and he's not available for the first 8-10 games of the next season. Same thing with Kittle or Debo or Jennings or Bosa or Warner or Ward or, any of those guys that, I realize we can't sit everybody because we don't have enough people to play, right? But I mean, I just don't want one of these guys that's a big linchpin that we know is definitely going to come back. So maybe you play Debo because we think we're going to trade him or whatever. But semantics aside, I just don't want one of these guys that we know is going to come back, that we know is going to be a big piece and a big core of our team next season that we know we're going to have to rely on. We know we're going to have to count on. I just don't want one of them to get hurt in what are essentially 2 meaningless football games at the end of the season. There's no chance we're going to beat the Lions next week. It's just not going to happen. And then it's a meaningless game against the Cardinals. It's going to be 2 teams playing out the string against, each other in a game that completely doesn't matter for anything. And I'll be surprised if the starters play for either team in that game, to be honest. So if they're not going to play in that game, then other than the NFL whispering in the 49ers ear, play your starters because it's Monday Night Football. Why else would we play our starters on Monday Night Football, right? So, I mean.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with any of that. I would be surprised if they did, but I would be very happy if they did because, I'm all for player safety too. But with that, everybody have a Merry Christmas. Try to find the joy with your family that the Niners didn't give you this year. And I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Like I said, we're gonna try to be back Friday if my computer doesn't die on me until then. So, from all of us, including Mr. Jimmy B, who's not here today, have a great Merry Christmas. Outro music is River Road by Justin Muth, and just try to beat the Lions, if not cover the spread.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, everyone. Enjoy your time with your families. Be safe. Take care, everyone. We'll see you when we see you.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road, they love the way